In today's world, we are increasingly dependent on technology. Our business and personal lives rely on it, but as you've probably noticed, it's unreliable. They promise it'll get better, but it usually gets worse. Our computers are slow, so we end up squinting at smartphones and tablets. We live in constant fear that something's going to happen to our personal data, so we're scared into paying for fake protection that proves useless when disaster strikes. Update attacks, fake Wi-Fi, cloud control, and other industry scandals are designed to keep the money flowing. The jokers we pay to fix our stuff have no clue what they're doing, so they do a virus scan and then wipe out our precious photos. Intelligent, successful people feel intimidated by the chaos and think it's somehow their fault. If they only knew what the industry was doing to them, they'd get torches and pitchforks. If only we had someone to explain it all in plain English so we can start protecting ourselves. Oh wait, we do! It's the Computer Exorcist Podcast with your host, Mark Anthony Arena.
From the Wallace Memorial microphone in my home office, overlooking the hills of Western New York, it's the Computer Exorcist Podcast. My name is Mark Anthony Arena. I am your host, and thanks so much for joining me. Today we have another special guest. His name is Anthony Klosterman, and he's one of my buddies, and I look up to him greatly, and he's just one of the more fascinating people you will hear on this show. He is also an escapee of Rochester. And actually, I have yet to tell, I got to tell you later on, you should look up the Flyover Plates podcast, Anthony.
Yes.
Did I tell you about them?
You told me about that.
Okay,
Sounds
good,
delicious.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to look it up. Okay, yeah. It's about garbage plates, and I'm the co-host, and it's great. So, anyway, so glad to welcome you to the show. How are you?
I'm doing great, Mark. Thanks for having me on here.
Yeah, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, I'm a former Rochesterian. Most of my family is still back in Rochester, but my wife and I
people.
we embarked on an adventure for warmer weather and, just fewer laws, I think. I don't know. We'll see if that backfires or not. Probably not. We are currently in southern Missouri. We have five kids, and number 6 is on the way.
Wow.
So it's keeping us busy. And just loving life, loving each day the best we can, and constantly learning. I think that's something that I've learned from you is, you're always curious to figure out what's going on and take risks based on what you learn.
You must have caught me on a good day, because most of the time it's, I don't want to learn anything else. I just want to retire.
Yeah, but then you're trying to learn how to retire successfully. So that's another, yeah.
You figured it out. That's my actual motivation. That's the only reason I'm a workaholic, is so I can stop working.
Absolutely. But at the same time, you love what you do enough, or you love the impact you make enough. I think that's what you're trying to learn, how to let go of that. Not to psychoanalyze you, Mark, but I know you well enough, right, to know that you love what you do, or what you love the effect of what you do and how it helps people, and you can never step away and abandon that unless you had a plan B for everybody.
You're spot on. You hit the nail on the head. I mean, that's it. When you hear last week's episode, I had a guy on, and we talked about how what motivates us was just liberating the clients from abusive situations, and that's exactly it. And the impact, I live for that impact. And yeah, as much as I'd love to escape and retire to Aruba, that's not happening until I can get some people in place.
Wonderful. Yeah, I know you're making some headway there, so really, wishing the best.
Yeah, thanks. So what do you do for a living? What's going on now?
So when you and I met, I think you helped me out in 2018 with my personal computer issues.
Yeah.
You and I knew each other before that, but I was in church ministry in Rochester, and I ended up getting into remote sales for a telehealth training company. And I still do that, and I still consult for them and work with them on the sales processes and marketing and that sort of thing.
So telehealth, that probably blew up during COVID.
That blew up, yeah. So I got into that in the fall of 2019.
Right before.
Little did I know that churches would shut down, and I felt bad. I had like survivor's guilt, true survivor's guilt, because not only did I feel bad for leaving my ministry that I was in full time, but then those ministries were kind of shuttering up a little bit.
So you got out right at the right time.
I know, from one perspective, yeah. So yeah, I have to be grateful, and I am, totally grateful for that, and I'm grateful for, the company that hired me and gave me this opportunity to develop a new skill set in sales, a new skill set in, building relationships that lead to sales, possibly, right? Or just that help people that I've never met before. So it was really cool. It's been a cool experience. It's been a cool ride. But yeah, so I wanted to, I think I might have mentioned to you, but this has all led to something new that I'm moving into right now. And that is, I've taken a role as my role now is to help grow membership for a community of entrepreneurs, a community of founders or executives in businesses. And our company, it's a nonprofit organization called Scent Ventures. And these entrepreneurs are all Catholic. It's my background. It's kind of my jam that, I was already experienced in ministry working with people and in this background. And so I'm helping to grow membership, but also helping to grow each member, right, in their personal development, professional development, by matching them with connections or coaches, with mentors, with a fellowship program, whatever is going to best meet their needs to achieve the growth that they want. And I'm meeting people from ministry world, like nonprofits, people building venture capital funds, people in brick and mortar businesses, just all over the place. People building apps or educational technology opportunities that are exploding right now. It's just all over the place. And what unifies them is just, that they're people of strong faith, and they recognize that their approach to business needs to be holistic. It can't just be about the bottom line.
Yeah.
So holistic for their own health, their family, but also for the way they run their business, their employees. That's actually a really cool thing. Is I've had so many great conversations with founders and executives whose biggest goal is to figure out how they can run a business that truly cares or supports the calling of their employees, even if it means that they're just readying their employees to move on to something new. That, if you really take care of the whole person that is employed by you, it's going to benefit everybody. It's going to benefit their families. It's going to benefit you. It's going to benefit your customers. It's just a really cool thing. It's very, we talked about, being mission driven at another time. You and I spoke about all these mission driven or values driven companies and how that's a buzzword. So I'm meeting founders every day now who
they just proclaim them. They brag about themselves. Look at us. Look what all we're doing, instead of doing the right thing when no one's looking.
Sure. Yeah, they do. They use some Google Analytics to find out what things they can say about themselves that will drive traffic, right?
Oh, that's brutal. It's just, let's find out what keywords people admire, and then let's just say we do those things. Oh, it's brutal. It's brutal.
Yeah, I mean, it's not everybody, but all the big brands do that. It's enough to make you a little bit cynical about anybody having values in business, right?
Think about it. Like, if I'm a company, right, standing up for some kind of cause just because it's popular, as opposed to standing up for a cause because it's right.
Exactly. Exactly.
Wow. And side note, I just want to comment on what you're saying, the holistic approach, right? My aunt lives in a neighborhood down the street from me, and it's all these great big houses and shiny, houses built in the past 20 years, and but all of her neighbors, she tells me these stories about most of the neighbors anyway. They make big bucks, right? But their personal lives are a mess. They're all divorced. Their kids are all just screwed up. So in other words, yeah, you can go for that bottom line, but you'll eschew the rest of the aspects of your life.
Right. Gain the world and sell your soul, right?
Aha, well said. And the other thing about the holistic approach, you and I have a family friend we were discussing earlier, and he was sent, he's an executive who was sent to Mexico to operate a factory that his company owned there. And what struck me, I mean, this was a long time ago when we were little, but it struck me, he told me, he said, Mark, I'm running this factory in Mexico, but we're not going to make it a sweatshop. We're going to provide healthcare and dental care, and I think he even had condos or apartments set up around there. I mean, he made sure he took care of these people because he knew they are humans, they are people, and they deserve to be taken care of.
I love it.
So yeah, I love it. Holistic approach there.
Yes. Yeah, you can't view anybody as a commodity, even yourself.
And you know what?
Right.
Those folks are saving him money. He was down in Mexico to save on labor that he would have paid in America. So what do you do for someone who saves you money? You appreciate them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And absolutely. I'm sure they adored and appreciated him.
Yeah, so true. Yeah, that's a great lesson. I mean, as we see all these brands doing this and chasing I think I shared with you that in France, the monks at Chartreuse, I think they're in France, or are they in Belgium? I can't remember. I always get confused between who's in Belgium and who's in France. But the monks at Chartreuse, who are known for their liqueur, Chartreuse liqueur.
Oh, right.
They're Carthusians, and they're from the Chartreuse Mountains. I'm trying to figure out where that is. You can't tell that I used to teach geography, can you?
Did you?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's in France. They're during COVID and afterwards, it's just green liqueur. Or they have different colors of them, all different colors. They've got green Chartreuse and the normal color and everything. But everything was flying off the shelves, and it brought them to full capacity with the facilities they have that they've had for centuries. I mean, they've been around since 1605. No, the recipe's from 1605, wow. But they've been making it since 1737.
Oh, wow.
And so how do you get longevity with your company? It's by balancing out what really matters, right? It's by ignoring the things that are shiny, that are glittery.
Urgent things that actually don't matter. That's going to be in my next book. I talk a little bit about that, how I was a slave to that for so long.
Yes, please. Yeah, I look forward to that. I mean, yeah, so these Carthusian monks were given every worldly motivation, every bit of advice from consultants and everything to scale their operation post-COVID, because it just became the most popular thing ever. And they chose not to. They're like, this is going to disrupt our balance of our way of life right now, right? They've got this sort of tripod of work, and that's making Chartreuse, their community life together, and of prayer, right? So the whole person, their mental health and spiritual health, their social health and relationships, and the work that they do. And they didn't want to upset that balance. And so it was an easy thing for them to say, sorry, you know, it's not everything. The bottom line is not everything here.
Bottom line is not everything. That's the title for this episode. Got it.
Yeah. So that's how you get, you know, 300 years of continued success.
Wow.
Right?
That's right. That's right there. When people, why wouldn't you do that? Well, guess what? We've been stable for this long. We got to be doing something right. Wow. That's just, so many things I want to say about this. The fact, I mean, in my, another thing I say in my next book, in the earlier part of it, is I was back in 2007, I was trying to start a business, and it was really a huge leap, and it was me putting all my eggs in one basket, putting all my hope into this thing, and it was going to bail me out, right? Here I was, a broke guy just out of college, and it was going to save me, right? And I was like Icarus, right? The Greek legend of Icarus, where he put on wings and he tried to fly, but then he got too close to the sun and got burned up. So they want to avoid that greed, so to speak, right? And I say in the conclusion of that part of my book, it wasn't me outwardly grinning and yes, I'm going to be greedy, but it was still greed, right? It was still overexcitement. I don't know if you know. It takes on
a different name, right? Greed can take on different names, often to match whatever our insecurity is.
Wow. Oh, right? That's the other thing. Right. So security versus insecurity, and that's
whatever your insecurity is. Yeah, it'll mask as the solution to that and take on a different name.
Wow.
Right? Does that make sense? I'm thinking just based on what you said.
And that's just recently in life. In the past couple of years, I've become a little bit less insecure and more secure as a person, and it's incredible the stuff I turn down now, right? I used to just take any phone call or anything as opportunity. Oh, it's an opportunity, I have to take it, but it never led anywhere. It was just me spinning my wheels. But when you get to the point where you're just slow and steady wins the race, and I one of my past episodes, recently I interviewed a lady named Cara Jean, and she was an advisor to me this year, and she said, Mark, I said, I want to do all these projects. What do I was scrambling, and she said, Mark, focus on your podcast. That's it. Focus on your podcast. Don't worry about anything else. And as soon as I started focusing, I started gaining traction. Anyway, a couple of years back, I want to say 2018 or so, Subaru was, I mean, they've been successful for the past 25 years or so. They've been really gaining success, and their reputation is catching on as they're bulletproof cars, and they're the best balance of sporty and efficient and affordable and reliable. And so someone asked the executives at Subaru, so are you guys going to expand and put more factories? And the guy said, no, we're fine the way we are. We're going to stay stable the way we are. And we'll operate our few factories that we have at full capacity, rather than what a lot of companies do, which is stretch themselves, overstretch themselves. Yeah.
And they bring on consultants to restructure, which is, you know, what do they say? We're gonna take 3 steps backwards to move 5 steps forward. And what they mean is, you know, letting go of, you know, their workforce and just to bring in extra money, right? Let's let go of three individuals who are bringing in this much money to the business to restructure in a way that allows us to gain, you know, the equivalent of 5 people and what they bring to the company.
Right, and at this point, it's all numbers. Even with those 5
it's
people,
all numbers.
Don't bring anything.
Yeah.
I mean,
how does it look on paper?
Right. I could see chopping someone off if they're harming the company, but they're just doing it for the surface value, and it's they're pea brains. I bark about this on my episodes about big tech. They're all pea brains.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, one quick comment before we go to our article here. I took a walk with my neighbor yesterday, and I was trying to explain to him what I do and how I need to scale, right? I have these great ideas, but it's just me driving around myself, and I need to scale, and I need to teach people. And we were going around and around and around, and he said, Mark, I could put on events for you. I could do promotions for you, and you could have big events, and you could get a bunch of people in the room, and they'll pay for tickets, and you sell them your book, and then you have all your vendors come in, and that's cool. And he said, you're going to make so much money, and blah, blah, blah. And I've talked to a lot of people about that, and that's cool, and maybe I'll do that someday. But I said to him, or then he was talking about, you got to do recurring revenue. And every advisor I talk to, almost every one of them says, you got to do recurring revenue. You got to milk people. And I say, no. Because I could be like, years ago when I was starting the business, I had a poker buddy, and he said, Mark, my parents have a computer guy, and he has 100 clients and charges them $40 a month. And I said, gee willikers, that's awesome. He makes 40 grand a year. Wow, I'd love to do that. But what I realized was, instead of milking 40 people, I solve problems once and for all for people, and now I'm up to 1,900 clients, right?
Yes.
So if you do the right thing, instead of milking them for petty fees, it goes somewhere. So anyway, and so I was telling my neighbor this, and I said, look, I just need people. I just need to be in front of a room of people. Whenever I give a talk, people love my ideas. I just need to be put in front of people. And he goes, oh, I could do that. So he said, why don't you do a job training? And I said, there you go. I said, my primary motivation is not to make money. My primary motivation is to help people. And if I could do job training for any of the handful of people suffering in Western New York and give them a rewarding career protecting people from big tech, that's my motivation. The money comes later.
Yes. More than a handful of people.
Yeah, zillions. I'll teach everyone. Right. I mean, all 12 people who are under 90 left in Western New York need a job. I get some people coming, what are you talking about, 12 people? What do you mean? There's more people. So you want to do... I figured we would just be so interesting. We would have little time for articles. I have a very quick article. Are you ready?
Let's hear it.
This is from the CatholicTV.com newsletter. They're out of Boston, and I get their newsletter, and they're wonderful. April 2023. Jay Fadden, who's a director there, wrote an article called You Are Loved, and here's some highlights from it. There are many traps in today's world. People strive for bigger houses, expensive cars, jobs that pay more money. There's a huge addiction problem in the world with drugs and alcohol. On television and the internet, there are ads for products we do not need, but we want them so we fit in with today's society. Young people have it worse. They're bombarded with messages to look better, dress provocatively, think a certain way, and they're listening and reacting in a negative way. So why are we doing all these things and buying too much or acting against our own moral code? The answer is quite easy. We want to be loved. All of us want to feel special, and we want to know that we matter. Unfortunately, we live in a world that says love is based on your possessions or acting in a certain way. You have talents and gifts that set you apart, whether anyone else sees them or recognizes them. I'll leave it at that. What do you think?
There's a lot to unpack here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there is a lot to unpack here.
I try to turn off the spam for people and the distractions. All these computers, it's all distractions and spam.
It is. Yeah, I think that that advertising and fashion and, tech industries, they're all playing on this desire people have to love or be loved, to be thought of, to be included. But something that, especially, any of your listeners that are a little bit more philosophically inclined and want to go a little deeper into this, there's some really great research being done by a guy named Luke Burgis, Burgis, and it's all about desire. Mm-hmm. And where does our desire... So mimetic desire is what he calls it. So it's analyzing mimetic, meaning, I think, imitation. So think about when you're dating someone and they're avoiding you, or they are playing hard to get, they're very desirable. Okay. The moment that then they start to show a lot more affection, then sometimes that desire can decrease. right?
Oh,
right?
I'm Jerry Seinfeld when it comes to that.
Exactly. But then imagine
Yeah.
that individual, imagine that
All
girl
of a sudden,
breaks
I'm
up
not
with you, right?
interested because they're not
Imagine,
mysterious.
yeah. So imagine she breaks up and she starts showing interest in other people.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, that person becomes so much more attractive again.
Because you fear on missing out? Is that
part
right?
Part of it is that you've now made that individual a model for what it means to be happy. You now want them because they've achieved what appears to be what it is that you want, right? So they've achieved a new relationship, or they've achieved this connection, or whatever it is, and now you've created now you want them because it's like when you're looking from a distance at a club or a group of popular kids at school. Mm-hmm. What is it that makes someone want to be part of that inner circle? It's not just because you'll think you'll be cool or this or that. It's like, I think it's that you think that by imitating those people, you're going to be liked or included or loved as much as they are.
The desire to be loved, right? When in reality,
yeah, exactly.
We have the innate peace inside of ourselves, right? That inner peace.
Yeah.
Where we don't need a lot of this external stuff.
Exactly. So I might be misrepresenting a lot of this, but I think basically there's a natural part of us that just wants to imitate a model who's achieved something that we naturally desire.
Okay,
right?
And I'll tell you something. Like in high school,
so TV, that's what they do, right? Isn't that what they do? Like they'll have someone who seems to have it all together, who's attractive. They don't just show you Doritos and make you hungry for Doritos. They show someone who's more attractive than you wanting Doritos.
Oh, wow.
So if you to be like that person, you also want Doritos now.
Whoa.
Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
That's kind of mind-blowing, right?
Like, there was this restaurant downtown, and he would just show a bunch of his platters on a table, and the camera would pan across them, and that was that, right? And that was good enough for me. But apparently people need to be brainwashed, and that's what blows my mind is I don't want to be brainwashed, and I don't want to be. It's just, here's my product. It's good on its own.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. And side note there, as far as wanting to be cool, like in high school, I always tried too hard, and I was never cool. But in college, I stopped caring what people thought about me, and then all of a sudden I was the coolest kid in college.
Absolutely.
So it's the opposite. That's the antidote, is not to follow all these things, right? And it goes
Sure.
beyond like my usual topics, right? When the people with the dirtiest computers are the ones who click on anything, right? Oh, you need to clean your computer. Click here, right? If you're an AOL victim, AOL themselves bombards their own clients with, oh, click here to clean your computer. It's probably dirty. Click here to clean your computer. You need this. Don't miss out. And ironically, when you click on it, it destroys your computer.
Gosh.
Anything that claims to clean will destroy. So, and another topic in the book, while we're at it, is if whatever you're doing doesn't work, try the opposite, right? If clicking on all those things makes your computer worse, how about do the opposite and refrain from that and stop reacting to everything you see? My uncle taught me that. He said, Mark, don't react to everything.
Yeah. Yes.
How's that?
That's wonderful. That's great advice. I'm writing that down right now.
Oh, cool.
It's common sense, but I think we often want to have the best solution to something. We have difficulty saying no to a problem. A problem arises, and it's like, well, I don't have the best solution, but I've got to do something. Well, you don't necessarily.
That's a good point. Like, you don't have to react and scold someone or chastise them or get involved or intercept or intervene.
No, you can observe, and you can wait. You can see what the best course of action might be. It's probably not readily on hand. Mm-hmm. Same thing, right? As you're mentioning with technology, is we are quickly reacting to whether it's that desire to be loved. You know, if I have this newest iPhone, people are going to love me more, just like they love that person.
Yeah.
Right?
That's crazy.
But if I stop and I actually wait and I realize and I observe, I realize that person's not happy despite having the iPhone.
Right.
That person's not happy with their iPhone. They want something new now.
Right. It's one thing, Anthony. It's one thing if you get something nice and you truly enjoy it. Side note, I highly recommend Harry's Garage. It's on YouTube, Harry's Garage. He's an English guy, and he has a bunch of exotic cars. And his friends loan him exotic cars, and he truly enjoys them. He takes them on rides. He doesn't pamper them in the garage all the time. He takes them on rides and tells you about them, and you see a true enjoyment on his face. So that's one thing. But right, if you're out there just buying whatever it is because it's new, people are slaves to that. Oh, I have to buy the new iPhone, and shame on you because you have an old one. I mean, you know me. You've been in my car. It's from 2004, and I actually have an iPhone 4 or iPhone 5C on my dresser that I just use to FaceTime my nephews.
Absolutely.
And I'm freaking happy.
Absolutely. I use my wife and I use Pixel 3. We can get on the Google kick another time. I know that there's a lot to talk about there, but one nice thing is it's durable. It does everything that you'd expect a handheld supercomputer to do.
Yeah.
It's not the latest iteration. It takes amazing photos, so we haven't needed a nice camera or video camera for ages. What else do you need? And one nice thing is that I like that you can configure all the security settings. Now, anytime you update or do anything new, it naturally wants to put back all the spy mechanisms that Google thrives off of, but you can go back and reconfigure it at least. So
yeah, I've got an old phone too. I just need it for my camera and my calendar and phone calls. That's it.
Yep. There's actually a movement for that. I was reading somewhere that Gen Z is now ditching smartphones for their own health and well-being.
Well, they're going
to dumb phones. Yeah.
If they want to survive, they have to do that because they'll be bombarded by this TikTok lunacy.
Absolutely. There's another example of that, and I might be misrepresenting the mimetic desire thing that I brought up, but TikTok's another example. People doing absolutely ridiculous things, but getting tons of likes for it.
Right, and that's
it's not that it's a cool thing to do, right? So what drives it? I've not been convinced that this is a smart idea or that this is a cool idea. It's just the desire to imitate this model,
even if it's totally pointless, has no innate value.
Absolutely.
Final thoughts, Anthony.
Yeah, I mean, final thoughts are. There's a lot out there that we don't need. As you said, we don't need to react to everything that comes across our field of vision. And one example of this was you, when I kind of hinted at this earlier in our conversation, but I had a laptop that I bought in 2014. And by the end of 2018, it was slow as molasses and I was ready to junk it.
Like everyone on Earth. That's what keeps me awake at night. Everyone's doing this.
It had a good Intel processor. It's got a big screen, great keyboard still. It was just slow. So that's when, I talked with you about it, and I don't even remember how I heard about you doing this, or we might have just already had conversations about it, but you took like 30 or 40 minutes on a work day to clean up my computer. That was 5 years ago. That's still our family computer, right? So what's 2023 right now?
So it's 9 years.
We've had that laptop for 9 years, and it is phenomenal. When one of my work computers is having issues and I'm hosting a webinar or something, I just go grab the family laptop, and it's always more reliable. So that's how I became friends with you, is realizing like, here's someone that actually cares about people. If you just spent, if you were fixing people's equipment so that you'd have more equipment to fix, I'd be concerned. But you're fixing people's equipment. So I haven't needed you for one thing since 2018. I mean, there have been times where I'm like, I probably have some projects or things, but nothing urgent, because the family computer has been so reliable. I'd probably have you out to take a look at it again, because it has been getting a little slow due to probably updates and apps that we've put on there and things like that I'm not sure what's causing the issues. I might bring it with me the next time I'm back in Rochester, because I don't think you have a subsidiary out here in Missouri, but
not until you find me someone.
So yeah, that's just, it's a true testament to what it is you're doing and how calmly you address someone's reaction to an apparent disaster.
I like that.
And
I've never been accused of being calm.
But
I see what you're saying. You're
not capitalizing on disaster the way that other people do.
Oh, you kidding me? All these dudes, and again, maybe they think, in their defense, they think they're helping you, right? Oh, you need to do an update.
And I think the coolest thing was that you brought my menu back to, like, I don't know if it was like the Windows XP menu or whatever. It wasn't
right.
The start menu. You brought it back from I hated the Windows 10 menu that came with that computer.
I call it the abomination menu.
You couldn't hibernate. You couldn't hibernate your computer or anything like that. It was just it was just non-functional for getting to your programs. It was always displaying apps. Microsoft was constantly trying to sell you apps on the start menu.
And that's why most people don't use their Windows machines anymore. They just leave them there to collect dust because they're slow and they have that abomination menu, so you can't get your work done. Most people on planet Earth.
Yep. You even put Minesweeper back on there for me, So, that's, definitely, that was a small investment for what I got out of it, gained a better friend out of that because I knew it's someone I could trust. So definitely, keep doing what you're doing and make sure that anyone that's an apprentice to you has that same value.
All right. Well, I think that's an episode. What do you think?
Man, that's awesome. It's been great.
Yeah, thank you so much for your thoughtful insight and all this deep wisdom you brought to the table today. I was not expecting to have an episode this good.
Thanks, Mark.
All right. Talk to you next week, and thecomputerexorcist.com. Buy my book for everyone you know, and tell your friends about the podcast.